There is no denying it. Bitcoin is in a rough place right now. The price is down more than 50%. Fear is at levels we haven't seen in years. AI IPOs are pulling attention and liquidity away from Bitcoin. The timeline has turned into a bunch of crabs in a bucket. When Saylor shocked the market on June 1st with the announcement that Strategy had sold 32 of its more than 840,000 Bitcoin, the price dropped over 15%. And the community did what it always does when price goes down. It started to eat itself. So Saylor did something unexpected. He wrote an article outlining the entire Bitcoin community as he sees it. And you could say it landed like a grenade. The community already feels more divided than it's ever been. And Saylor just put name tags on those divisions. In bull markets, Bitcoiners sing kumbaya. In bear markets, we self-segregate into tribes. And Saylor just drew the map into 4 different sections. But he missed something that most people are not picking up on. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 kinds of Bitcoiners as Saylor defines them, where people like Max Kaiser, Jameson Lopp, BTC Sessions, and Knut Svanholm fit on the map, and the benefits and shortfalls of each camp. You'll find out where you land in all of this, where I land, and whether what we're seeing right now is a sign of Bitcoin breaking or Bitcoin maturing. And stick around to the end, because I'm going to show you the 5th kind of Bitcoiner that Saylor missed entirely, and why this article inadvertently captures the exact zeitgeist of the Bitcoin era that we are living through. If you own Bitcoin, you are not going to want to miss this one. Let's get into it. Ever since Saylor sold, the pylon has been something to behold. People way beyond just Peter Schiff are coming out of the woodwork and calling Strategy a Ponzi scheme. They're saying STRC is going to implode. And Saylor's response to all this? He took a break from posting AI-generated videos of himself DJing in Ibiza and wrote an article. And to be honest, you know shit's got to be pretty bad if Saylor's taking time out of his day to post an article on Twitter opining on the state of the Bitcoin community. And while many were dogpiling on him for even posting it, I read the article. The very same community he once referred to as a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, stronger, and faster, behind a wall of encrypted energy. That was Saylor in 2020. In 2026, Saylor divides the Bitcoin community into 4 camps: capitalists, maximalists, technologists, and fundamentalists. And the most common criticism of this framework is that it is useless because nobody fits into just one of these boxes. This criticism is correct. Bitcoin identities, like autism, live on a spectrum. So rather than a BuzzFeed-style quiz to give you your exact Bitcoin phenotype, it's better to create a map. 4 circles overlapping. Now let's go ahead and define these camps and assign prototypical members so you can better identify where you stand. And you can give me a label as well. Let's start with the guys in the orange ties. Camp number 1 is what Saylor calls the capitalists. In terms of Bitcoin identities, these guys are the newest entries. They didn't exist before Saylor entered the scene in 2020. And the movement started picking up steam when we had some kid analysts start covering Strategy. Then there was a Cambrian explosion of them following the Bitcoin treasury company mania of 2025. For the capitalist, Bitcoin is the trade. Bitcoin is the best asset humanity has ever produced, so naturally they want to wrap it in a ticker and sell it to Wall Street. Bitcoin in every portfolio, on every balance sheet, backing every credit instrument. You can easily identify them by their clothing accessory of choice, the orange tie. But you've got to give them credit, in the sense that they help make Bitcoin something that your dad's financial advisor now needs to have an opinion about. And that's real. The real criticism of this camp is that somewhere along the way, they took the Bitcoin of be your own bank and turned it into buy shares of my Bitcoin bank. New people show up looking for a way to opt out of the financial system, and they get distracted with a way to outperform the best performing asset of the last 15 years. Bitcoin's ultimate value as the world's best savings vehicle rests on the premise that it is money that is universally accepted one day. And the capitalists have spent the last 3 years telling everybody that spending Bitcoin is always a mistake. Like when Saylor derided Bitcoiners' High Holy Day, Pizza Day, by saying, spend the dollars, save the Bitcoin. You don't get to keep the revolution while talking people out of the part that made it revolutionary. And life certainly has a funny irony to it. Their ties are orange, but the share prices of their treasury companies are deep, deep red. Up next, according to Saylor's framework, we have the Maximalists. For the Maximalist, Bitcoin is the mission. More than just an asset class, it is the biggest technological innovation since man harnessed electricity. Fix the money, and you fix everything downstream of the money. As Saylor famously said,
there is no second best.
Everything else is a distraction at best and a scam at worst. Undoubtedly, this camp represents Bitcoin's spine. Their conviction is the reason why Bitcoin has survived 472 published obituaries. And counting. The criticism of this group is that while their conviction shows you the vision for a hyper-Bitcoinized world, it doesn't tell you how 8 billion people get there. Bitcoin has already won is a comforting mindset, but it lacks an actionable plan. The worst part is that when the going got tough, this camp seemed to quiet down. It's easy to tweet, "have fun staying poor" at every Financial Times journalist and their mother, while Bitcoin is going from $3,000 to $69,000. But where's that revolutionary punk rock spirit when the price is going down? Names that used to lead the charge have gone silent. Peter McCormick and Preston Pish stopped Bitcoin podcasting. Gigi left for Noster. And Max Kaiser is barely on the timeline these days. Many people took their laser eyes off in the 2022 bear market and let the orange ties fill the mindshare vacuum in their absence. Okay, so that is 2 camps down, 2 to go. And before we get to the nerds and the priests, I want to see you comment down below. Which camp do you think you're in? Capitalist, maximalist, technologist, or fundamentalist? Be honest. I'll tell you mine at the end. Okay, on to camp number 3. The technologists. For the technologist, Bitcoin is the protocol, an incredible piece of software that is not and never will be finished. Privacy could be better, scaling could be better. Quantum computing is somewhere out on the horizon, whether we like it or not. To this camp, refusing to improve Bitcoin is simply being an idiotic ignoramus. Here, of course, we have people such as the Bitcoin Core devs and Jameson Lopp, and they're not wrong that some threats are real. Maintaining software is a pivotal piece of keeping it functional. Software that never changes in a changing world eventually becomes outdated by forces we can't even imagine yet. But Saylor's article contains a poignant criticism for this crowd. He borrows a medical term, iatrogenic harm, which is harm caused by the treatment itself. One aspect of Bitcoin that makes it so robust is that it is so difficult to change. Every proposed upgrade, no matter how smart or well-intentioned, does contain some risk of killing the patient. However, upgrades are a necessary part of Bitcoin's long-term growth. We wouldn't have the Lightning Network with as nearly instantaneous Bitcoin payments as we have it today. In many ways, this cohort does not get the credit it deserves. They spend endless, thankless hours making sure that Bitcoin is bug-free and ready to face the challenges of a constantly changing technological landscape. At the same time, they often lack the social skills to successfully communicate their ideas to the Bitcoin community and get a lot of pushback for having a holier-than-thou type of attitude. All right, and now we move on to our final group under Saylor's framework, the Fundamentalists. For the fundamentalist, Bitcoin is the philosophy. To them, in order to be a Bitcoiner, you must be a sovereign individual, running your own node to verify every transaction you make from your self-custodied stack. Bitcoin is more than just a protocol. It is a once-in-history opportunity to separate money from state. And every custodian, every ETF, every clever financial product is another potential point of capture. This camp is currently at war with the technologists about what data belongs on-chain. Bitcoin Core on one side, Bitcoin knots and proposals like BIP 110 on the other, trying to filter out every transaction they deem to include arbitrary data that isn't money. And when Saylor published his 4 categories, my favorite fundamentalist response came from friend of the channel, Knut Svanholm, when he said, capitalist shitcoiner, maximalist shitcoiner, technologist shitcoiner, fundamentalist Bitcoiner. At least we know where he stands. And look, in many ways, this camp is Bitcoin's immune system. When the next FTX happens, and there will be a next FTX, the fundamentalists are the people who told you to get your coins off the exchange. But there are honest criticisms to be made here too. A revolution that only counts you if you use it one specific way comes off like a cult. Bitcoin is an open source protocol, and trying to police its uses when those uses follow consensus rules feels puritanical. This cohort has certainly been fearless in being willing to stand up and voice criticism, but when you go around accusing everyone who does not share your exact point of view of defending the most vile things on the internet, you're going to have a hard time winning people over to your side. But now let's talk about the 5th kind of Bitcoiner that Saylor did not mention. If you've been in this community and you're looking at this map, you know that almost nobody lives in just one circle. Start with Saylor himself, the man who coined the term "there is no second best." That's maximalism. But he turned that conviction into preferred shares, a true believer who built a trade on top of that belief. Then there's Jack Mallers, who built payment rails on top of Lightning. Capitalist meets technologist. And Jonathan Beer behind the BitMEX research account. He posed a great question. What about people who want better privacy and scaling, but don't think the base layer needs to change to get there? Technologist goals with fundamentalist rules. And me, I lean more maximalist fundamentalist. As BTC Sessions put it, we'll probably end up with 2 Bitcoin economies. A regulated custodied one running parallel to a sovereign cash-like one. I know which one I think is more important. But notice I am not standing with the BIP 110 hardliners. I respect the instinct. Keep the chain clean, keep Bitcoin money. But Bitcoin is, at the bottom of everything, a database. Arbitrary data will find its way into it no matter what you filter, because that's what open systems are. You can't purity test your way out of mathematics. The fundamentalists guarding the philosophy are right. The ones trying to enforce it on the protocol level picked a fight that's impossible to win. So why is everyone fighting? And why does Saylor's article inadvertently capture the Bitcoin era we are living in so perfectly? Because the number went down. That's it. That's the whole answer. When price is going up, the tide lifts all camps. Everyone's a genius. Everyone's willing to look past their differences. When price goes down, we form tribes and we eat our own. But every name on this map, the orange ties, the laser eyes, the filter enjoyers, and the protocol spurgs, got here the same exact way you did. They looked at a financial system built on endless debt and debasement and said they'd had enough. Which brings us to the middle of the map, the one section where all four regions overlap. Not maximalist or capitalist or technologist or fundamentalist, just Bitcoiner. And while we've spent a decent amount of time at each other's throats, the system we all decided that we wanted to opt out of hasn't gotten one bit better. The debt didn't pause and the wars funded by the debt continue. But Bitcoin didn't pause either. It just kept producing blocks, the same way it has through every bull market, bear market, and every Bitcoin civil war we've thrown on top of it. So pick your camp, choose your corner, but the Bitcoin community needs more of the us against the world type of energy than the us versus us. Drop a comment with the camp that you identify with and share this video with somebody you think would enjoy it during this bear market. If you enjoyed this video and want to find out what Tom Luongo thinks about Bitcoin maximalists, check out this interview we did with him right here. This has been Rob with Bitcoin News. And if I hurt your feelings, I'm just trying to have some fun. And Bitcoin doesn't care.